If you are looking for all things real estate and an in-depth look at market fluctuations and answers to all your buying and selling questions, look no further than real estate expert Lisa Hill. Lisa brings her vast 15-year knowledge directly to you every week, sharing her own struggles as she navigates you through the twists and turns of the real estate world. Lisa has been sober for 9 years and has been motivating people ever since. A speaker, mentor, and teacher, each week Lisa will welcome guests from all facets of the industry to ensure you are as informed as possible before making any real estate decisions. This is the Lisa Hill Show, real estate for the real world.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lisa Hill Show, Real Estate for the Real World. I'm your host, Lisa Hill. We have a very exciting show today. I have Letitia Stock, a loan officer here. She's here to tell us about down payment assistance and how you can still take advantage of some of the down payment assistance for the county and surrounding areas. So we'll tune her in just a minute. If you didn't tune in last week, go back, please, and check it out to keep up to speed on what's going on. I want to share with you guys the email of the week. Okay, I get tons of questions emailed, and I picked this one because it's really relevant to what is going on in the real estate world. So, email says, "Hi Lisa, I have a question for you. My coworker said when he bought his house, the seller paid for the closing costs. When we make an offer, can we have the seller pay for that?" Okay, so the answer to that question is yes. Generally, what we've seen is the seller will pay for the closing costs. So the way it works, for those of you who aren't familiar with it or haven't purchased a house before, you have two costs. You have your down payment, and then you have your closing cost fees, which are fees associated in obtaining a loan. Okay, so what we've seen the last couple of years is customary that the seller will pay for the buyer's closing costs. For example, if a property is $300,000 and closing costs say are $8,000, buyer might ask for credit, and the seller essentially will net $292,000. Okay, what we're seeing right now is sellers aren't really giving the credit. They're not giving the credit like they were. We're seeing it's really competitive right now. Like I mentioned in last week's show, it is a seller's market. 3 months inventory or less is a seller's market. Right now we're at 2.3. So it is a seller's market right now, and sellers are being competitive. What we're also seeing this week is sellers aren't making repairs. So for the buyers, you have to be aggressive. You have to have some of that money set aside and just be prepared that seller might not pay for it. Or you can talk to Letitia and get a grant and have some of that cost offset. So it's great that we have her on today to bring value. Some of the grants are no longer going to be, so it's a really good time to take advantage. I kind of touched on the negative side of it with the closing costs, but if you're a seller, that's a positive thing. That means you're getting more money than you would have selling it a year ago, because you're not, right now it's not customary that you have to pay for those costs or any repairs. On the good side of it, when I'm working with my listings, it's great because we get someone asks for repairs and we just say no, too bad, because we have somebody else who's willing to buy the house. On the buyer side, we have to be aggressive and be prepared that if there are other costs associated, like repair costs, that we have to be prepared for that as well. So that's this week in real estate. I'm going to go ahead and bring on Letitia Stock. Hi, Letitia.
Hi, Lisa.
Letitia has been in real estate since 1983. So I was in diapers and she was closing deals. So Letitia does financing. We've closed a ton of deals together, and really, she's an expert on the down payment assistance. So Letitia, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. So do you want to tell them a little bit about yourself and your background?
Sure. I became an escrow officer in Kern County back in the 80s. So I've been in escrow since 1983, stayed in that field for 34 years, got licensed to sell real estate in 2006, sold real estate actively for 3 years, and then decided to try lending. So 2013, I entered into the lending field, and guess what? All around, I know the transaction from beginning to end. So
it sounds like you've had every angle. So you've done the escrow side of it, you've done the sale part of it, and now it's kind of coming full circle that you
Yes.
do the loan part of it.
Yes. So I'm able to help people structure their transactions. And right now, yes, we are seeing a lot of sellers that aren't wanting to cooperate and giving any credits to the buyers. So the down payment assistance programs available, there are several available, but a lot of the down payment programs have to be paid back with interest, and they're silent seconds. And then when you refinance or turn around and sell your home, you got to pay it back.
Okay, so there are programs out there that have to be repaid.
Yes.
And there have to be paid back with interest.
Yes.
And there's restrictions. Is that
Correct.
right? Okay.
Correct.
And so we're not talking about that today, right?
No.
You're talking about straight across down payment assistance doesn't have to be repaid.
Right.
Great.
We're
Good.
we're going to discuss the grant.
Okay.
It's actually the Golden State Financing Authority Platinum Grant. It does come with one fee that's 1.5% of the origination.
Okay.
Of the actual loan amount.
Okay.
And you need to have, there's a couple of items that you need to be aware of. You need to have a minimum FICO credit score of 640. And a 640 will give you anywhere between 3 and 4% of the loan amount grant.
Okay, so what you're saying, 3 and 4% goes towards.
The down payment and closing costs.
Okay, so generally, if you want to give the audience out there, because a lot of the listeners are people who don't own homes yet, so they're doing research and looking to get into the home buying market.
Correct.
So will you explain a little bit about down payment, the different types? I know when I first looked to purchase my first house, what I thought was I had this number in my head. It was $30,000. I thought that I had to have $30,000 as a down payment. I mean, again, this was many years ago, but I had that in my head. So can you explain a little bit to the listeners what a down payment is, how much is needed? I mean, because it might not be as far-fetched as someone might think.
Well, this program actually works with all the FHA, VA, and conventional programs. The FHA programs, the minimum down payment is 3.5%.
Okay.
The conventional program actually has a 3% down payment for first-time home buyers only. The other conventional program is 5%. That's the minimum.
Okay, so what would be the benefit of doing FHA or conventional? What's the difference, or what are some of the benefits on each one of them?
Well, if you're going to start out and you don't have a lot of money and your credit is let's say it's 660.
Okay.
You're going to qualify for FHA, and you're also going to qualify for conventional. But to get into the house, the FHA, if you don't have the 20% down payment for conventional,
Okay.
you're going to get stuck with mortgage insurance. And with any credit score below 700, you're going to have a high mortgage insurance cost.
Okay, so what you're saying is conventional, you need 20% down.
You don't need 20% down, but if your credit score is under the 700,
Okay.
then you're going to have a higher mortgage insurance premium than if you were to go with FHA.
Okay, so pretty much we can get people in houses for 3 to 3.5% down payment.
Down payment.
Okay, and then there's closing costs in addition to that as well. Correct. Okay.
Correct.
So yeah, let's talk about the down payment assistance and how that would work and how that plays in to offset some of the costs, because I know we've done deals and I've had clients get into properties with $1,000,
Correct.
literally $1,000.
Correct. Well, let's just hypothetically use a $200,000 figure.
Okay.
And you have a down payment now 3.5% with an FHA.
Okay.
And that's going to be $7,000.
Okay.
And the grant is going to end up being 5% of the loan amount, the full loan amount that includes your mortgage insurance. So basically, it's going to cover all of the down payment, and then it's going to cover some of your closing costs. And if we happen to have a generous seller that will contribute $2,000 or $3,000, then you're going to get into the house for anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 of your money.
Wow. So we can get people into houses $1,500 to $2,000.
Basically, their next month's rent payment will cover it and get them into a home.
So why do you think more people aren't doing this, in your opinion?
They may not be aware.
Yeah,
That's all it is.
I think so too.
And I take all borrowers. It doesn't matter if they've got credit issues. I take their application just like anybody else's. I run their credit. I put them through my own credit repair system, and I get them up to speed. My goal is to get everybody into a home utilizing a grant as much as possible. And it's not only for the first-time home buyer, it also is for the person that's going to move up into their second home, per se. So it's not just the first-time home buyer.
So we have a question.
Yes.
Okay. I just got an email in to me.
So the question is this: you said if your credit score is lower, you'll be stuck paying more for mortgage insurance.
Right.
What is the difference? So let's say it is lower, and I'm stuck paying that. What's the different cost for me as opposed to someone who does have good insurance?
Well, it's easier because it's easier to get into the FHA loan because it's fixed. It's 1.75% of the loan amount. That's going to be your mortgage insurance. On the conventional programs, it depends. It's on a scale of depending on your loan to value, how much down payment you're putting in, and where your credit score fits in. And so it's a scale.
Okay.
And there are like 9 large mortgage insurance companies, and all of them vary a little bit.
So mortgage insurance is pretty much ensuring
that you're not going to default. And if you do, that portion collected will contribute toward the foreclosure costs, attorney costs, and any payments that you've missed.
So you're paying to say, hey, I guarantee that I'm going to make my payment.
Correct.
Pretty much. Okay, more or less. No, I want to know about, because it seemed like, last couple of years there were tons of different grants and all these different programs. I mean, tons of them. We had people like every week at our local realtor meeting talking about it. Oh, this program and this one, and they're all very confusing, but it seems like those have gone away.
Yes.
Are you noticing that?
Yes.
Okay. So how many are left of these grants? And is it something that you see going away for good, or do you see that it might come back at all? What are your thoughts on that?
I really don't know if they're going to come back once they're gone. I just know that the one we're using right now at Stearns Lending is that GF, Golden State Financing Authority Platinum Grant. And that seems to work. It's pretty stable. The interest rate lines up with the FHA loan programs. It is right now, let's say that you want a 5% grant. The interest rate is going to be 4.750%.
Okay, so 5%, meaning I want them to give me 5%.
The maximum that you can get from the grant is 5%.
Okay.
And that will, like I said, cover your down payment and cover a portion of your closing costs.
Okay, good. So I want to ask you this, kind of switching gears a little bit.
Okay.
What are some of the mistakes that you see people make? So you mentioned a little bit that people come in your office and you work with them long-term for credit and work on their credit. You put them in the system of credit repair. What are some of the mistakes that you see people making that we can maybe tell the listeners what they need to do to get into gear?
Some people think they shouldn't use credit at all. And so they won't have any trade lines.
So people think, hey, I pay all cash.
Yes. And those people are hurting themselves when they want to go buy a home. You have to have some kind of track record that you're going to pay on time. So you need to have at least one trade line.
Trade line is
like a line of credit, like a car payment or credit card, revolving accounts, installment accounts. So you need to have at least one for FHA. Now for conventional, you have to have 3 trade lines.
Okay. Is there a length of time that they need that?
For FHA, maybe 3 months, but for conventional, it's 12.
Okay, so they have to have, what they want to see pretty much to get qualified is that you're paying something. So
Yes.
there's a history of payment and ability to pay.
Correct.
And so you run into people that aren't doing that.
Yes, don't have any, or then you have the other ones that have too much credit and they have, let's say, 5 credit cards and they're all maxed to 90% or higher of the limit, and so therefore it's hurting their credit score. So I'll take those people, make them pay them all the way down to $50, and all of a sudden their credit score will jump up 40 points. And they're like, wow, I didn't know.
So it sounds like not charging up cards.
Right.
What about big purchases? How does that affect? Say you have a credit card with a limit of $1,000 and you have to, pay for something, pay for schooling or school books or something with that credit card. How do you see that affecting the score?
Well, Another criteria with these grants is that they don't want you to exceed 45% of the debt to income ratio, which means, let's say you make $4,000 a month. You are only going to be able to utilize 45% of that income. So let's see, calculating off the top of my head, around $1,800, $1,850. So within that $1,850, that's that's gonna have to be sufficient enough for a house payment, a car payment, and all your credit card debt.
Okay.
So if you've got a big $500 car payment and you've got excess credit cards, then that only leaves you with, let's say, $800 or $900 for a house payment.
Okay. So they could still qualify, but they're not going to qualify, especially right now with where property values are and prices are. They're really not going to qualify for something like a big house.
Right.
Right. So where does that leave them as far as price point?
Well, because if we do around 200,000, payment will be around 1,200 for that home. So in order to qualify for that, for the $1,200 payment, then either you don't have any large debt, or if you do have some debt, let's say not a car payment, because that'll wipe you out. But if you have credit cards, then we can pay those credit cards off through the closing, even utilize the funds from the grant to do that.
So in a perfect world, okay, give me like a perfect scenario. Someone walks in to apply for a loan. Give me the perfect scenario. Like, what is that perfect borrower, perfect client? What do they look like?
Oh my gosh. The perfect borrower has, actually not perfect, but they're 660 in credit score.
Okay.
Or above. They're going to use the grant.
Okay.
They make under 83,100 in this county. That's the income limitation.
Okay. Is that household or individual?
Household.
Okay. So they can't make over 83,000 a year.
Right.
Okay.
And then we have to work with a 45% debt to income ratio.
Okay. So they fall into the debt to income ratio. They make under 83,000. They have a 660 credit score.
Right.
Okay. All right.
And they don't have any other debt. Maybe they have a $200 or $300 car payment and nothing else. And they make good money. So
yeah,
they're going to be able to afford anywhere from $250 to $350.
Okay. So that's the perfect borrower in a perfect world. Someone walks into your office and sits down. You're like, woohoo, when they leave, right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
But the goal is to make them all perfect.
Yeah, to get them there.
Yes.
Right? Okay, you also use a product. I've had clients of our mutual clients tell me about. You have a credit simulator?
Yes.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, I mean, I just utilize it to help people.
So can you explain to our listeners what the credit simulator is?
It basically works within our it's a product that we utilize within the credit company that we use, and it just lets us pick like their lowest, whatever score we want to increase, whatever trade line we need to increase. By trade line, I mean Experian, Equifax, TransUnion. Those are the 3 reporting companies that we utilize, and it lets us play with it to figure out what we need to do to increase the score.
So like, okay, if I paid off my car,
yes,
the score would do this. If
yes.
I paid off this credit card, or if I got a credit card,
right.
what the score would do.
And it tells us how quickly it can be done, immediate or all the way up to 2 years.
Wow. So that's a huge tool.
Yes.
I know that a lot of other loan companies don't necessarily have that.
Well, they don't like to because they want to move on to the next deal, and they don't want to be trying to track all their people that they can't qualify right now, because some people it may take 8 months. But I learned a long time ago to track every single lead by day, by time, by phone number, by everything. And then I
know you do.
I just calendar myself.
You email me or you call me more often. What happened to this client? What happened to that client? Go show them property. I got them qualified. I got them. I'm like, oh my gosh. They texted them 10 minutes ago and she has the application done. I'm like, oh my God, she's ready to go.
Well, I love what I do.
Yeah.
And I love people. So anything I can do to help anybody, utilizing any of my experience in escrow or even real estate, if I can help a realtor figure something out, write an addendum that's going to work, a counter, an actual contract. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are people that are brand new agents that need help, and I don't mind helping them.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. Okay, so tell me something. We're switching gears a little bit. Okay. So tell me something good that happened this week. I love to ask people that. Like, what happened in your life? What's going good in your life?
Oh boy, that's a loaded question. In my life currently, I'm very spiritual, mm-hmm. and I just believe that God has vindicated me. From some past incidents that were very, very difficult for me, and it was personal. In the past, I would have not had the compassion necessary for someone going through what I went through. But after experiencing a very life-altering experience that was very painful on a lot of levels, I have stood up for myself. Justice prevailed. God prevailed. And through lots of prayer and support, I've never felt more loved in my life.
That's great. So it's new beginning. It's
Yes.
a new beginning week,
Yes.
which is amazing. I talked about it on the first show, and I think that it's really important. Anytime people go through something in their life that is a pivotal moment or a turning point or something, good or bad, most lessons are learned through bad things, unfortunately.
Well, I choose to look at the silver lining.
Yes.
At one point in my life, I felt so isolated and alone. And now I feel empowered and encapsulated by all the love of all the people that have poured out to me.
Isn't that amazing how that
is.
happens?
And-
How through the struggles and through the hard times that in reality, what it does sometimes is you hit a bottom. Like I talk about my alcoholism and how I overcame the active addiction. And once you hit bottom, it sometimes can help clear away a lot of the shit that you've been going through. Yeah, I say shit on the show. It helps to clear out some of that shit that you've been going through and help you see the people who stand up in your life, the situations, and you can see things for what they really are sometimes when a lot of that stuff gets cleared away, which is amazing. So I always look at bottoms or tragedy or hard circumstances as a new beginning, because anytime something happens, there's always a fresh start, ending
Yes.
of a work or ending of a terrible situation, whatever it may be in your life. Like you can look at it and turn it into a positive and a fresh new beginning. And so that's really exciting. That's good because it's like it's a new start.
Yes.
It's that butterfly.
Yes.
From that cocoon, now it's a butterfly. So you can look at it as different ways, but I know you're spiritual and I am as well. And, my whole career, my whole being of who I am is built on rock fucking bottom. So that's where I am today, is because I had to hit a bottom and I had to come to a place of pitiful, incomprehensible demoralization, and where I didn't want to live that way anymore. And I had to make a change. And it has been the birth of a new life and a new Lisa. And so I'm so looking forward to the fresh Letitia, the butterfly out of her cocoon.
That I am worthy and I deserve.
Yes.
I've had to figure that out the hard way.
And you're an amazing friend, worker, just woman, just all around. We knew each other for years. We worked together for years and never even talked. We were just like work. And
Yes.
so it's been great to work with you and just build a friendship. So I'm so glad that you're here on my show.
Thank you. I love you, Lisa.
I love you too, Letitia. Okay, so next week we have someone also from Stearns Lending coming on, Carrie Nikolsky. She is amazing also. She specializes in VA loans, military home loans. We have some really good stories to share. She is the freaking expert at it. She is amazing. So tune in next week and we'll have Carrie on talking about military loans. And again, Letitia, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Lisa, for
All
having
right.
me.
Tune in next week, guys. Thanks.
Thanks for stopping by the Lisa Hill Show. For more information, please visit lisahillteam.com. Catch us on the next episode when Lisa brings you more real estate for the real world.